We are going to start about the pumping device of a circulatory system, which we discussed earlier. That every circulatory system should have three units. One is the blood vessels. The second one is the circulatory fluid that should be circulating around in the body, and the third one is the device that would be pushing the blood or pushing the fluid overall the body, pushing the fluid in the body. So there should be a device that should have sufficient pumping power, sufficient pumping power, so that when it pushes our where it pushes our pushes the circulatory fluid, it should be pushed with enough power so that it can circulate around the whole body. It is pumped around the whole body. So that is why there is a device we all know as the heart. This device is known as the heart, and we are going to understand about the structure of the heart, what is so unique about the heart, and why the heart is able to perform these activities. These are very important questions that we are going to answer today. So let me first draw the structure. Sorry, I have to change the color of the compartments here. According to their function, I have to change the color. Actually, every compartment has its own function, so I would have to change the color of the compartments according to the function of the according to the relative function of the heart. So that is why I am changing continuously changing the color of the two portions of the heart along the axis. If you observe that along the axis, this is the axis. Along the axis, there are two different compartments. I differentiated these compartments with the help of colors, and what is the reason why did I differentiate? You will come to know a bit later. So first of all, we have to understand about the cycle of the blood inside the heart. If we understand about the cycle of the blood inside the heart, then it would be very easy for us to understand that how the parts of the heart work. Number one, the blood coming from the body. Number one, the blood coming from the body. This blood would be deoxygenated. This blood would be lacking the oxygen. Number two, the uh, blood is pushed towards the lungs. Blood is pushed towards the lungs. So when it is pushed towards the lungs, then it would for oxygenation, to carry the oxygen. For oxygenation, it would be pushed towards the lungs. Number three, it would return from the lungs to heart. It would return from the lungs to heart. And number four, it would be pushed towards the whole body. Towards the whole body. And then this whole phenomena repeats. This whole phenomena repeats. Now let's have a brief introduction about the parts of the heart. You will easily understand that how the heart works. First of all, let's have a revised question, revision question from the topic of yesterday. That what are the vessels that take the blood towards the heart, back to the heart? What are those vessels called?
Sorry, sir, can you repeat again?
What do we call those blood vessels which bring the blood towards the heart?
The veins.
Veins. So the largest veins which are formed after the largest vein which are formed which is formed after the combination of all the veins from the body, because I told you yesterday that once the venules combine again, they create a vein, right? Like this. And when these veins combine together, when these veins combine together and they recombine and recombine and recombine, and then they end up into the heart, the largest vein is formed, and that largest vein is known as vena cava. Vena cava means vein, cavity like vein. Vena cava, the vein that receives all the blood from the head side and from the lower body. All the blood, all the veins of the body combine to form the vena cava, and this vena cava enters into the into the right portion of the heart. Now, let me tell you a very simple formula about the directions or about the orientation of the heart. We are going to discuss the heart according to our body. For example, you are going to assume the shape of the heart according to your position. Your right hand means your right side of the heart. If I draw this diagram, according to my laptop screen, this is actually the left side of the heart. If I tell you about my sitting posture and I'm facing the screen right now, the blue side is on my left and the red side is on my right. But actually, you have to assume the side of the heart according to your sitting posture. So if you are sitting, if your sitting posture is like that, that if your right is my left, then it doesn't mean that the chambers of the heart would change. The right side of the heart is always assumed according to your hands. Your right hand is your right side of the heart, and your left hand is your left side of the heart. So you should not be puzzled by looking at the diagram made on your screen, because that diagram may represent the right side as your left side, and the it may represent the left side as your right side. So you must not get puzzled. You must know that if I'm talking about the right side of the heart, it means it is your right, not my right. For example, I'm facing you. If I'm facing you, your right is my left and your left is my right. So the structure of the heart does not work like that. It is actually according to your hand orientation. So the right and the left side would be according to our body posture, not the left, not it will be according to the whiteboard or the laptop screen. So be very aware about that. Uh, Keep this in mind that all the blood that is coming from the body, either from above or below the body, it would be emptied into the right portion, and the above both of the above chambers are mentioned as the atria. Atria, or singular portion would be called as singular chamber would be called as atrium. Atria. Collectively, both of these chambers would be named as the atria, and the singular term would be used as the atrium. And a whole blood that is coming back from the body, it would be emptied into the right atrium. This is right atrium. Now, this right atrium would pump, and it would pump the blood to the chamber that is located below the right atrium. This would be regarded as the right ventricle. The lower chamber of the whole heart is called as ventricles. And singular, obviously, ventricle, it would be regarded as a ventricle. So the blood from the right atrium that is deoxygenated, it would be pumped into the right ventricle. Now, where would this blood go? I would tell you later, but first, let's have another very important uh, clue of understanding about the heart. The right portion of the heart always contains deoxygenated blood, and the left portion of the heart always contains oxygenated blood. So, we should never be confused about what kind of blood is present in the right portion, what kind of blood is present in the left portion. It is very easier. Right deoxygenated, left oxygenated. So it is never to disturb yourself. Just create some hints about the heart, and then you can easily understand. Let's continue the topic. If the blood that has been that has reached the right atrium is now pushed to the right ventricle, what is the next destination? The next destination is the next step is to oxygenate this blood, because this blood is going to towards the lungs. So the purpose is to oxygenate this blood so that it can come back to the heart. So first of all, right ventricle would push, and this right ventricle from the back of the heart, this right ventricle would push the blood towards the lungs. And these type of vessels which are pushing the blood towards the lungs would be known as pulmonary, what, artery or vein?
Pulmonary vein.
Pulmonary artery, because these are taking the blood away from the heart right now. These are taking the blood away from the heart towards the lungs. So the pulmonary arteries would receive the blood from the right ventricle, and these would reach towards the lungs. Once the pulmonary artery has reached the lungs, it would now turn into capillaries. The lungs are filled with capillaries, completely filled with capillaries. These are completely filled with capillaries. So just look at this, like this. These are completely filled with capillaries. Blood enters into the lungs as deoxygenated, and when it leaves the lungs, it is now oxygenated, and it would be going back towards the heart. Now, the blood that has been oxygenated is going to reach the heart with the help of, now what would we call this as? Pulmonary vein,
Vein.
because it is bringing the blood back. So, uh, this why the word pulmonary? Keep this in mind. If we are talking about, keep three words in your mind that are always related to lungs. Number one, pulmonary, always related to lungs. Number two, pneumonic, pneumonic. It is also always related to lungs. And number three, the pleural. These all words, PPP, these all words are related to the lungs. So why do we call these arteries as pulmonary artery? Because these are taking the blood away from the heart but towards the lungs. And pulmonary vein, because these are taking the blood from the lungs towards the heart. So these would be called as the pulmonary vein. Now the oxygenated blood from the pulmonary vein has entered the left atrium. This is the left portion. This is left atrium, and the left atrium would push this blood into the left ventricle. Now, this portion is the thickest of all portions of the heart. I think, mentioned the reason of this earlier, but let me rephrase my sentence. This portion is the thickest of all because it has to push the blood. It has to push the blood all over the body, all over the body. So the blood that is coming from the left atrium, it would be entering into the left ventricle. This is left ventricle, and it would pump with so much power that now the pressure of the blood would become 120 mmHg, and the blood would enter into a very special vessel. What would be the name of this vessel?
Aorta.
Aorta. Aorta has four types of direction. Number one, the blood that is coming from the left ventricle. would be going to the inferior aorta from this side. It is going towards the lower body. But another type is there are three types of vessels that are dividing from the aorta, and one is taking the blood towards the brain. One is brain and skull, basically. One is taking the blood towards the arms, and one is taking the blood towards the shoulders. So these are three different types of divisions that are taking the blood towards their relevant destinations. And now the blood would be curved. The aorta would be curved down and taking the blood towards the lower body. From here, the aorta now would divide into arteries. Let me redraw this. It would now be divided into arteries, and these would be further divided into arterioles. So this is the whole structure of the heart, and we can now understand that how the heart is located and how does it function. So there are now let me tell you that our heart has two type of circulation, two types of circulations, two type of circulation. But let me, before this, let me tell you one thing, another thing about the heart. Our heart is double circuit. Double circuit means the blood enters and exits twice. Enters and exits twice. First, it enters from the right atrium first. Then it leaves from the pulmonary artery towards the lung second. Then it enters into the heart from the pulmonary vein third, and then it goes outside goes out from the heart with the help of aorta, that is fourth. So entry twice, one right atrium, second one right left atrium, and exit twice, one from the right ventricle towards the lungs and one from the left ventricle towards the body. So the blood enters and exits twice from the heart. So there are, according to this, there are two types of circulation. One circulation is known as pulmonary circulation. Pulmonary circulation means pulmonary circulation means that the blood goes to the heart, sorry, goes to the lungs and back to the heart. This is called as pulmonary circulation. And the other type of circulation is the systemic circulation. Systemic circulation. Systemic circulation means the blood would go towards the body and would be coming back to the heart. So this is systemic circulation and this is pulmonary circulation. Now let's have another again. Let's repeat our concept of circulation. Circulation means starting from the ending point. Starting from the ending point. Ending and starting point both are heart. Pulmonary circulation means the heart would take an exit from the heart towards the lung. The blood would taking the exit from the heart towards the lungs and then would return to the heart. This is one circulation. This is one circulation. And the systemic circulation, the blood would start from the heart, goes towards the body, and then return back to the heart. This is another circulation. So circulation is starting from the ending point. So you can easily see that it is very easy to observe that the blood is always starting from the ending point. So this is the circulation, and pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation are two different types of circulation in our heart. This is the whole cycle given here: ventricles empty, high pressure in the aorta, and then the walls of the atria contract. It is like this. Let me mention one more thing in my own diagram, and that is very important. That is these walls. This wall, this wall between these two ventricles, this wall is known as interventricular ventricular septum. Septum means wall. Interventricular, between both ventricles. And then observe this wall, this one. This is interatrial wall. Inter between atrial atria septum wall. Interatrial septum and interventricular septum. These both walls are very, very important because these walls separate the oxygenated blood from deoxygenated blood. Understood?
Yes.
Okay. There is, I think, one more topic about the coronary heart disease, and then yes, this one. Circulation, exercise, what happens to the heart when we are exercising. So we would be finishing this topic in the next classes. Any question?
No, sir.